Hi, myself Vasan. Welcome to our channel, EVDai. As part of the GCP Upskill series, the next phase of model we are going to do is on the setup an app dev environment on the Google Cloud. So this is what we are going to see in the upcoming videos, and so they are going to talk about like multiple stuff around handling the cloud storage, cloud IAM, cloud monitoring, cloud functions, and more on. So for this specific video, we'll start with experimenting the cloud storage in the console. Let's get started. So as always, I kept the step-by-step instruction on the left and then open the console over the right side of the screen. And if we go, so we already started this. Let's go for the first step instruction, which would be like creating the bucket. So this is a type of storage, which is going to be helpful for creating an storage to store your objects. So the objects, it would be generally the static files, which can be like a text file or image or videos, sometimes fonts and more on. If your website is static, it also gives you the flexibility to host your static websites. So to go with beginning of creating the bucket, so go with the cloud storage, create a bucket. So let's talk about the naming bucket rules. So here we thought it contains only the lowercase, numbers, dashes, underscore, and dots. And the bucket name must start and end with the number or letter. So we can't start with the special characteristics, or it can't be end with the special characteristics. It should be always starts and ends with number or letter. And we have a limitations for it. It can only consist of 3 to 63 characters. And if you see that if the name containing dots can contain up to 222 characters. So generally you would go with the bucket name containing dots in case of if you're going to use the bucket for the website, which is like evday.com static domain. So that would mandatorily would need of dot, and just to support that they have having like if the bucket is containing dots in it, it can be like triple two characteristics. And also you see each dot separated component can no longer be 63. So for example, the eBiday.com, then eBiday should be within the uh, character length of 63. So the overall character can be up to 222. In case if it doesn't consist of any specific dot in it, then it should be like maximum of 63 and minimum of 3 letters. And the bucket names cannot be representation IP. So though it supports number and dot, but we can't uh, add as part of the IP address because it will be conflicting in terms of naming resolutions as per the logic. So the bucket names cannot begin with GOOG. I believe all those would be like reserved for internal purposes, and it can't contain Google's because it's obviously their service. So there can be some other places they would be matching based on wildcard of Google. So avoid that. They will be going with this specific part. And also, if they let you allow this, then what if you create a static website in the name Google, and that will be again conflict of it. That's why they kept as a rule. It should not begin with Goog, and it should not contain Google in it as part of it. Oh, they also say that it consists of close misspellings of Google, which can be like GOGLE or GGLE, which sounds Google, but that's what they meant by here. Also for DNS compliance and features, do not use underscores for the specific part of if you're intended to do with the host name specific or like hosting the website. So these are the specific instances are given. So choose region for location type and okay, so region for location type and US West one. So if you see here, getting started. So they didn't provide any specific name to be mentioned, but we can create any name. So for our case, let's keep it as the bucket hyphen demo. And if you see choose where to store, we'll go with region. So if you have region to do like multiple specific region, we can do that, or we can go with do two regions and region. So based on of your user, like from where they're going to request your content, you will be choosing multi-region or dual region or region. And in region, if you're going, they're going with US West 1, and choose standard default class. So there are like multiple classes. If you see, you have standard, nearline, cold line, and archive, and you'll be choosing the storage type based on the frequency of how frequently the file would be get accessed. So if you need it immediately or like on day-to-day use cases, you go with standard. If it's going to be accessed less than once a month, nearline less than a quarter, which is like every 3 months once, something like that. Cold line, if it's going to access only rarely like once a year, then archive. So And they also have something called auto class, which is like based on the frequency of access, the file storage class gets automatically changed. So that's what they talk about it. And let's continue. So here we have how to access control it. So we have choose uniform and uncheck enforce public prevention in this bucket. So uniform, it's talk about if you see all the objects in the bucket will be consist of the bucket level permission, and that will be controlled via the IAM permissions. Whereas fine grain, it's going to be object level. So you provide permissions per object. Whereas the uniform would be like much makes more sense for easy management, so that you can give granularity based on the IAM permission, maybe like folder wise, based on the team wise, we can play with it. So that's all about it. And we would need to do create the bucket. So the bucket is created and go with check my progress. That. So next is about answering the questions. So below multiple choice questions, answer them to answer. Every bucket name must have a unique name across the entire cloud space. True. Upload an object in the bucket. To upload the object in the new bucket, right click on the image, download it, save the bucket as kitten. Let's do that. Let's store it in desktop. Store it as kitten.png. Let's save this. And yeah, so here we want to go with buckets. Select the one which we created. In the objects tab, we want to upload it. Upload files. Let's upload our file. Yeah, so we named it as kitten.png, right? After I'm going to see the file name and information of the file, so just type. Let's check our progress. Okay, done. Below the multiple choice questions, we reinforce and understand. Object name must be unique only within a given bucket. Yes, because the bucket name is unique globally, and the object name within the bucket just within the bucket itself. Share a bucket publicly to allow public access to the bucket create to the one. So if you want to share this bucket publicly, which is like accessible from outside world, you can go with permissions, play with it. So currently we see uh, public access. It has prevent public access. I think we would add permissions over here. Yeah, so in the principles, grant access, new principles, choose all users. Also here we have like two specific one, all authenticated and all users. All users would be like just who are having the access, they can get it. And what is the access permission they're giving here? So select a role, storage object view. So cloud storage object view. So these would be the default roles which already exist provided by the GCP. We are not going with custom. We're just going with read only object viewer, so that they can just come and read and go. They can't edit it. They can't upload it. They can't delete it. All they would have is just viewer permission. So let's all public permissions. Check our progress. Done. To verify, click the objects tab to return the object files or object file put it to the internet. Let's check it out. Buckets. Let's see. Copy public URL. Where it will be. I think this one. Done. Yes, so we have the public URL here. If we hit the public URL, though I'm in incognito, so since I'm logged in, I could able to see it. Or even if you're trying to access it from a different browser altogether, it's still accessible. So that's what making the object public means. So done. So next task is to create the folders. So we can go for back to objects. We can try to create a folder. Okay. So they're just asking us to keep it as folder one for name. Let's do that. And we want to create one more folder. So two folders they're asking us to create. For one, the next one is for, I know it can sounds very basic if you already deal with other service provider, but it's just about learning in the flow what it does and stuff. So upload files. Where is the screenshot? Subfolder. Okay. Wait a minute. In the objects tab, create folder. This is the folder in the bucket and image folder distinguished from objects. Create a subfolder and upload a file to it. I think they're asking us to create a subfolder within folder one. That would be, yes, within the folder one to create another subfolder called folder two. And what screens are they talking about? That's I'm not sure about it. Might be they just expect us to take a screenshot of that. Okay, in the folder two to upload the files. To upload files. I just took the same screenshot directly. Yeah, we can see the size and type and everything. Delete a folder. Click the arrow next to the bucket details, written bucket level. Okay, so they just ask us to go with one level up, the bucket level details. Select the bucket and click on delete button to view the one. Okay, so it's all about just deleting the folder. If you want to delete it, you just go here and I think it was here. No. So deleting the bucket exists where? select the bucket, click on the delete button. But this is about deleting the folder, isn't it? So click the arrow next to the bucket details, return bucket level, select the bucket. Okay, here we have the delete button. So more actions and delete it. So this is how we can delete the folder. If you want to delete the bucket itself, then we would need to delete it using here, I think. Just go here and delete the bucket. So yeah, that's how it's going to matter for us. And that's how we explore the storage functionality in generic or the basic functionalities like uploading, creating the files and folders and stuff. And even if you go into it, you can play for it in around like configurations of like lifecycle policies, permissions, more on the policies and stuff. But for now, I'm just sticking with the lab which they provided to see like how it goes. So far we have seen how to perform the cloud storage activity via UI in the console. So let's talk about how to do it in the CLI fashion. So for which we would need to activate our cloud cell and let's wait for it to spin up and give continue. So here they are using the tooling called gsutil, and this is tooling is specially meant just to perform the cloud storage related automation, like in terms of creating the S3 bucket, uploading the files. So as going through the process, I just realized how important is to go through the official documentation. So though this training is run by Google Cloud and we get access via the Cloud Skill Boost, and in this training itself, they provide about commands on gsutil, and I was curious enough about to know like what's the difference between gsutil and the normal CLI which we spoke about in the previous sessions, like the gcloud CLI. Then what it's is that even here they recommend to go with gcloud storage commands because all the latest functionality is not being there, and I believe they still kept it as part of the course. Either they didn't uploaded it or they still wanted to see like there is a tool exists specific to gcloud and it's not yet decommissioned. So that might be the reason like they still keep it as part of the course. But ideally, if you never go across the official documentation, you might not know that uh, the gsutil tooling is a legacy one, and you still need to go and prefer using the gcloud storage. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to do both. Like we'll try to follow the instructions of the gsutil, and we'll also try to explore our the CLI, generic CLI to be followed so that we get the taste of both. So let's wait for the provisioning of cloud storage machine in the meantime. So let's explore what are the topics we're going to do. So we're going to create a bucket, same as UI, upload the bucket, download the object, copy an object to the folder, and reading the objects in the specific folder, list details of an object about like, and making the object publicly accessible. And we're also going to remove the public access. Done. So these are the operations we're going to done using the gsutil command. I'm just waiting for this cloud cell to spin up. Cool. So we have our the cloud cell being created. So the first thing we want to do is to provide the authentication part. We do it using gcloud auth list, and that's going to provide the authorized permissions. And we can see our list of projects using the gcloud list project, which you already know that. And this one is to set the default region. So for our lab, we are going to set it as US West 1. And let's start with creating the bucket, right? So using a GS tool to create a bucket, we want to go with this specific command, gsutil mb, and then gs followed by the bucket name. So in our case, it's going to be, let's keep it as evidai demo CLI. And this will ideally create the bucket. We can view whether the bucket is created or not. Let's go for the cloud storage, and we could see the bucket is being created. Then, so next is check my progress. Let's do that. Then below is a multiple choice question. Let's do that. Each bucket has a default storage class, which you can specify when you create a bucket. Yes. Upload an object to your bucket. So you want to upload an object. So to do that, they're going to call the specific URL and then store the output as ada.jpg. So if you see the URL, it's going to be this. So you're going to download this URL and store it in the file called ada.jpg. Let's do that. So if you see ls, we would see the command, the file created as ada.jpg. So use the cp command and upload it to the specific bucket. So from the local, we are going to upload it to our the cloud storage bucket. So let's copy this and here. Oof. So let's copy this, and we would need to just rename our bucket. So we named it as evidai hyphen demo hyphen CLI, right? So bucket has been uploaded, let's see, object has been uploaded to the bucket, and we could see it's reflecting over here. So in a bucket, now remove the downloaded image. So this is just a Linux command to delete your local file. So if I do ls, we can see the file of ad.jpg, and they're just asking us to remove this file. If you do it, that file doesn't exist. So now we want to download the file from the bucket to our local machine. So again, they're using the same cp command. So here the source is going to be our bucket, and the destination is our local file location part. So let's change our bucket name, which is evidai hyphen demo hyphen CLI. And we are going to store it in the current directory. So it's copying, and if I do ls, we could see that the ad.jpg has been downloaded. So copy an object to a folder in the bucket. So to do that, we are just again using the source as the same bucket path, and then within the one, we are just again using the destination as the bucket path. If the folder doesn't exist within the bucket, it's going to create it. So let's do that. We use gsutil. I'll just copy paste, and we can just rename the bucket. So it's evidai hyphen demo hyphen CLI, and same here as well. Evidai demo hyphen CLI. So in case if you want to copy from one bucket to another bucket, then you would keep the source as one bucket name and destination as another bucket name. So it's going to be as simple as that. So if you go for bucket details and see what happened in copying objects over. Yeah, so the image folder is created, and within that we have the file edited JPEG done. So you can check out progress. List contents of the bucket. So we need to use ls and the bucket name. So these commands are more like the syntax of the Linux OS itself. Like ls is for listing, cp is for copying. So yeah, they're just following the same syntax. So evidai hyphen demo hyphen CLI or bucket name. That's going to give us the image and then the folder path. So list details for an object, we need to use ls-l. That's going to give us the details of the object, like the file type and size and those details. That generally they call it as metadata of the file. So it's going to be slash. I thought pressing tab would fetch it. No, it's not doing it. So area.jpg. So that's give us details about total bytes and when it is created and those kind of stuff. Yes, you can know the image size and date of creation. Make your bucket publicly accessible. To do that, they're using the command ACL and change it to all users and the bucket path. Okay, so let's try doing it to see whether we can do it using the CLI itself. So I'm just replacing the bucket name. Done, so you can check our progress. So say it's done. Okay, so we can go and evaluate at public link. We know how to do it. An access control is a mechanism you use to define who has access to your buckets and objects. Ideally, ACL is for just for objects, not for buckets. Okay, it's for both buckets and objects. Okay, I may be wrong. Because I remember when we do using the bucket in the previous a few minutes back, is that we choose the in the permissions. If you see, its ACL is for object level, right? So access to objects can be granted through ACLs. To enforce a single, okay, ACL is for both buckets and objects, whereas the overall one, it's going to be for the specific like entire bucket. Okay, maybe mixing things up. So verify that you are removed. Okay, we want to remove the bucket permissions now from all users. And wait a minute. So to remove the bucket permission, we have to use -d. So there we use the ch-u, and this one is to like use -d to do that. So let's copy paste it. Let's rename the bucket name. So below says multiple choice question. So you can stop publicly sharing an object by removing the permission entry that has all users. That will be like all users. Delete the object. To delete the object, we use rm command, and again same the Linux based syntax we're using to delete the file. So let's keep the bucket name, which is demo CLI. Let's check it out as the bucket got removed. We refresh this. Okay, the bucket, the ada.jpg has been deleted. So done. That's it. So we are completed. So one thing I want to see is how to do the same things using our the gcloud storage part. So if you remember, we have performed if you use gcloud storage -h, that's going to give us what are the next options available. So we have buckets, and we have cat and those commands we have. So let's try to do with the buckets and see like what we have. So the idea is like if we can create a bucket using this specific CLI and without using the documentation that is going outside the internet. So we can use create. So let's do create hyphen h. And we just need to give the URL or the bucket name in this case. So let's keep evi demo gcloud. Okay, it's created, I think. No, okay, we need to use something like the bucket URL, which should be something like this. Right, so the bucket has been created. If you see the bucket details, refresh. Yeah, the bucket has been created. Same way, if you want to just upload a file, uh, we would use, let's try to download that ada.jpg, right? 1 minute. So let's try to download that URL. Yeah. So now what I did, I just re-downloaded the file ada.jpg, and let's try to use our update file, or like, yeah, let's use this one gs2c, or we might be having a copy option. Let's see if we can have. For that, we just use gcloud storage buckets -h to see do they have anything like copy. So we have create. Maybe we have something like objects in instead of buckets, we might be having something like objects. Do we have that? Yeah, we have objects. So if we go with objects and -h, so we have like compose, describe, and list. So it's more about like playing with it to see what all the things we can do here, and play and more exploring part. So, but then I believe you got the context of it. Like the gsutil is more of a legacy tool, and they even recommend us to go with the standard one for gcloud storage. Okay, so I would love you to go and explore this specific gcloud storage CLI, and do mention in the comments how it goes for you. Yeah, so thanks for staying till the end of the video. See you in the next video. Thanks.